interesting guest here with us today, Dr. Joseph Wilson. Dr. Joseph Wilson is a very competent doctor in many fields, neurosurgery, experiencing. He's also director for Beauty Journal Spark here, and I'm gonna allow him to tell you a lot of things that he's been doing. All right, so however I'm on the podcast, welcome to Dream Boss Rebirth TV podcast. I want to talk about some things that you want to hear. Let's go right into it, Dr. Wabon.
I'm doing good, man.
All right, cool. So, Doctor, we were supposed to have you on the podcast for a good while. Your time just free up because you're a very busy man.
Yes.
You all know that. Just want to know about how was the experience for you during COVID period? I mean, we're still having a COVID crisis right now, or
it isn't a crisis right now, but COVID is still around. Even this morning while coming, I was listening to an audio that was posted 2 days ago on YouTube that there's a new Omicron variant that's actually called XBB.1.5. But during COVID, a lot happened during COVID. Many persons got the virus. Some persons got sick. Some persons even died. Some persons hospitalized for a very, very long time, even for 2 months. You know, some persons in ICU. So a lot happened during COVID time.
With all of that, you seen it firsthand. What was your role? How did your expertise in medicine?
Right. So first of all, during COVID time, so I was a trained tester, certified tester. So I was the chief tester for Donovan Medical. Also one of the testers at Surgeon Gold in rehab. That's where I'm a medical officer at in the days. So I've done both PCR testings for the government, and I've done rapid antigen testings privately for Beauty Journal Spark here, plus also testing persons at home, at other offices where I work, even persons for production companies. So quite a bit.
Well, your service was really instrumental during the pandemic because person could have relied on you to do home service.
Yes.
Because during that period, the hospitals was basically shut down.
Totally shut down.
Access to certain type of service was limited.
Right.
So how did you find that experience after visiting persons? I mean, it should be a lot of persons you had to see during that time.
All right. So during that time, for example, after leaving the evening office, because I'm also the evening doctor at Bethel Baptist Health Clinic. So sometimes I maybe leave in the office, or even while I'm there, get a call that somebody is suspected to have COVID. So because I'm a visiting doctor, so I drive to their home, visit them, test them, if they're positive, of course. So I'm one of the first few persons who test as well and also treat. Some locations wherever you go to get tested, you're just tested and then you're sent back home. Right? So I tested persons, treated them. Sometimes some persons may have even difficulty breathing. So first we go and check them, test them if they're positive. Then we will find out if they have any comorbidities such as diabetes, hypertension, sickle cell, asthma. If so, then we check their oxygen levels. So we use a pulse oximeter on their finger to see the oxygen levels. If the levels are below 95% and falling, then of course they're going to be needing oxygen. And as such, we ask them to either go to the hospital, send them with a referral, of course, or if they can afford to supply themselves with oxygen while at home. You know, during our COVID time, you know that there was a shortage of oxygen that time.
Yeah.
And during that time, to get oxygen at your house, there was a starter kit from IGL, $65,000 for a kit that included the connector, oxygen mask, plus your first connection for oxygen. If you're buying about like a 50 pound that time or so, it would have been about $20,000. Then you pay $5,000 subsequent to that to refill oxygen.
Oh.
And of course, this is also dependent on whether or not how much oxygen you will actually need during that time. Would it be between 5 or even up to about 15 liters? So if you're going to be needing a whole lot of oxygen for the night, then one pound alone will not even suffice.
Right, so there's a cost problem during that period also.
Yes, man.
Most persons couldn't get access to proper health care because the cost and also overbooking of hospital.
Yes, so some persons, as I mentioned about hospitals, because some persons would go to the hospital and they're there for like several hours and even turn back. You know, I recall once when I was doing some testings one night, I was testing some persons at Cherry Gardens. And a lady who owned a company, so some of her staff had left and they went to UA for testing.
Okay.
They were in a very, very, very long line. Now, after finishing testing, her staff, she was like, the person's still haven't gotten through as yet. So I said to them, I will test that person and other persons after leaving. No, they were there. This is about like after 12 in the night, And they're saying that they are willing to wait for me at their location. They will leave UA and go back to wherever they are, and actually go and actually test them.
But that's interesting. How did you see the response for like company owners for the care for them staff even during that period? Most persons were encouraged to be vaccinated. Most persons have a lot of iffy about being vaccinated because they saw that the whole system was like a massive media behind vaccination, which is to inform person of the importance of being vaccinated. But some persons were very skeptic. They were saying that it's an agenda different than person being sick. Person were literally saying that they cause a problem and vaccination is the solution to cause the population of the...
So you mentioned quite a bit, literally. So first of all, some companies even called me in to do presentations to their staff because their staff didn't want to get vaccinated. I recall going to a company, a pallet company, to discuss with them and explain to them, because what I realized that there was misinformation.
Yeah.
And persons that weren't really educated what really happens and what is really COVID, So when I went there, I explained to them that COVID-19 is due to the SARS-CoV virus, and of course, this can affect your immune system because first you're exposed to the virus, then your body, to the antigen, right? Then your body makes antibodies for same. When your body makes antibodies, then it gives your body the chance that if the same pathogen, would that be a bacteria or virus in this case, if it sees this same thing again, it can react to it at a much faster rate. That's what a vaccine does. A vaccine, it actually ensures that you get a small portion of either the live attenuated pathogen or a piece of the pathogen or even an mRNA version, which is actually a gene that causes this same pathogen to be
So you're literally introducing a milder version of the virus itself into the system?
Yes, into the system. Then your body makes memory cells for these things now, so that when your body now sees, it's like taking a picture, so to speak, and your body says, okay, this guy looks like this. So it's like a similar search team to find this person. So that the next time now when other persons appear like him, then you're much more able to identify this person and actually how to respond to it. So now your body makes memory cells as in how to find this virus, and then it makes cells which actually helps to fight it and treat same at the same time.
I think most persons understand and appreciate the importance of vaccination. Right. Because we're all at it, even at early stage, right? But it's about what was in the vaccine person was really concerned about. Yeah.
So for example, the AstraZeneca vaccine and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, they were both vector-based vaccines, meaning that they had subunits of the vaccine. So for example, they used something that's called the spike protein, which was a subunit of the vaccine. While the Pfizer vaccine is a gene form from the vaccine was used to infiltrate same into your body. It's actually the mRNA component. What either method used will cause a reaction in your body, and as such causes your body to make antibodies for same, and in so doing helps to fight off the virus itself.
All right. So there were information encouraging person to be vaccinated. Then with the whole booster shot, what was the need for the booster?
So in essence, first of all, in getting a vaccine, it's not said to be effective until 2 weeks have passed, right? So for example, with the Pfizer vaccine, you're given the Pfizer vaccine today, 2 weeks post, then you're considered to be vaccinated. And within 3 to 12 weeks time, you're given the other shot. Now, booster shots, of course, should help your immune system to boost same in order to cause your body to make more antibodies, because your aim is to recruit as much antibodies as possible, so that next time, it's like you're making soldiers to go to war. So if you have enough soldiers to go to war, so each time now this comes again, your body has made more and more and more. So that's one of the reasons now a vaccine helps your body to be aware of this, so that whenever this same pathogen comes back again, you're much more prepared for same. And so even in so doing, your recovery time should be better.
But there were cases where a person who was introduced to the vaccine still got COVID?
Yes, so that's one thing person need to understand, that a vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID, for example, COVID-19, because I have tested persons positive who have received 2 vaccines plus double boosted and still get on the virus. However, though, their reaction to the virus is lessened at times, and as such, they recover much quicker. Yes? So, with us saying this, it's a matter of ensuring that your body is prepared for this. Yeah.
So, is there a compromisation of your natural immune system when they introduce foreign object into it without person that's a cause? You don't have the virus, but you just take the vaccine.
So, growing up, we all are given vaccines, right? For chickenpox, for tuberculosis, hepatitis B, whatever it is. This is a mandate for us.
Hepatitis B, they were saying it contains some mercury.
That is based on, of course, different combinations in general. But you see, and it's just so funny how things are. Growing up, you're told to go and get vaccinated for all these things. However, now when a particular virus comes up now, everybody's saying they don't want to be vaccinated. While you receive about like 10 different shots already while you were younger growing up.
I think it was the nature of how it happened.
Yes.
The readiness of the vaccine. And there were also conversations that, circulated that this was pre-planned. The person was wondering, is this really, a pandemic or, a pandemic, as most persons would say.
So whether they think it was a pandemic or a plandemic, it was happening. Yes? Because we saw for ourselves that persons got sick. Persons got very, very sick. Persons were in ICU. Persons died. Yes? So whether or not it was a pandemic or a plandemic, it happened. It was happening, yes? And at the same time, what do you do to curb the situation? Are you going to be just sitting down there and just wait to die next? If there is, and there were several movies that were made before depicting how coronaviruses came about. Coronaviruses have been around a long time ago because they have been found in farm animals and back in the day, even in monkeys and all that. However, though, coronavirus in general, though, did not affect humans.
Okay.
However, within the lab at times, persons can manipulate structures of different things. And in so doing, these things, if manipulated, they are stored in specific labs and locked away. There are several viruses that are locked away on a daily basis that you and I don't even know about. However, they are governed by different laws or whatever it is, and they are locked away for research purposes. So whenever being transported or whatever it is, they are transported in a particular medium or particular devices so that it doesn't expose to the general population.
So you're saying that this was supposed to be a controlled virus for testing purposes, and it was accidentally
based on what was actually explained in general. Yes.
Yeah.
There can be many different discussions about that, whether it be a pandemic or a pandemic, but it was happening.
It was happening.
Yes.
And your job was basically to ensure that persons within your care was properly taken care of.
Yes.
Well, there's persons that opted not to take the vaccine, but they did experience COVID-like symptoms, right? You have a kit. In your hand. What's that kit for?
So this kit, all right. So you mentioned that the person would have had symptoms. So in general, when you get a regular vaccine, yes, you will have some amount of fever, cold sweats or whatever, and then if you take Panadol or so for fever, the fever goes away. We asked about this kit. This kit is the Zyvrelo kit, yes, which was being used in the States and even locally to help to manage persons with COVID during that time. It contains 3 doses of ivermectin, 12 milligrams each day. That actually has labeled days.
Ivermectin, they were saying something controversial about ivermectin, that it wasn't recommended to use. It wasn't.
Right. So ivermectin was first derived in Tokyo from the soil in Japan several years ago, in which this was isolated and used to manage 2 serious illnesses. Filariasis, which is known as elephantiasis, right? And another illness that's called onychopsoriasis. Now, this drug was said to be a wonder drug. Now, there are 2 other drugs that are considered to be wonder drugs ever in the history of human.
Wonder drug in terms of the response time?
For example, penicillin is a wonder drug. Aspirin is considered to be a wonder drug. Ivermectin is also considered to be a wonder drug. It actually helps to treat parasites in general, plus also other infections. Now, it even won a Nobel Prize, for ivermectin
so
from back in the day.
accolade.
There are even guidelines though, right?
Why was it not
So-
recommended to use?
So it was not recommended to use because, of course, during that time, as we all know, there was a push for the vaccine, literally. Though there was a task force or teams that were looking at, it's called FLCC guideline, first line critical care guideline. They included ivermectin within their treatment. Now you can list that something is not for this, but there are many things that are used as off-label uses, right?
Okay.
For example, Viagra. Viagra was not made initially to treat sexual performance. Viagra came out initially as an antihypertensive medication to treat hypertension. Now every drug that comes out is studied within the group, and then from there on now, the persons who are studied, they are brought back into a meeting or discussion, or they're asked to fill out papers stating what was their side effect or whatever it was. In the meeting, they asked persons wrote out, said that they were having increased performance sexually, like men. They had longer erections and all that. Now, if you came out with a drug to treat high blood pressure, but it is able to help sexual performance, which one would you more focus on from there on? Now, one tablet of Viagra now costs over $2,000.
Yeah.
As opposed to you selling this tablet separately to manage hypertension.
Right.
Though it is still used now to treat hypertension.
No, the main marketing
yes,
now is
right.
for sexual use.
So the use of ivermectin now, or during that time, it would basically be an off-label usage. And persons were seeing results, literally, because I was even watching some videos where persons in the States said that there was a family. Her husband had COVID, she had COVID, and her child had COVID. She got better, but her husband got very, very sick, and he had decreasing oxygen levels. And they began giving him ivermectin. And within a few days' time, oxygen levels were fine, everything else wasn't okay. And that was just one person. Well, there were several other doctors as well across the states who were using ivermectin. The kit contains ivermectin, it contained doxycycline, also contains zinc. They have built several other guidelines to help to manage this, both prophylactically, during when you have COVID, and even post-COVID. Because some persons end up having something that's called a long COVID period.
Right.
Meaning that even after you've had COVID, you still have COVID-like symptoms, or you're still very, very sick, weak, tired. Some persons still have breathing issues even long after that,
But
even memory issues as well.
You mentioned that normally they would get some analysis of the symptoms when they take certain type of medication. Now, persons have different side effects from the vaccine, they would say. Some person would say that they have erectile dysfunction, hair loss, cardiac issues. There's different ailment that they say coming out from taking the vaccine that they didn't have before. These persons didn't have any underlying illness or anything like that before. Is there a response team that is there to, attend to these concerns, just like it was to promote the use of vaccines? Is there a response team for adverse effect, to respond to those type of
So
things?
you mentioned several things a while ago. So first of all, when you go to a vaccine center to get the vaccine, you're asked to sit there for a few minutes to see if there's any adverse reaction. I mean, because most times when you're exposed to something within as an injectable form, any adverse reaction can actually happen within a couple of minutes. So there was a team there at each site that when something happens, if you're having any difficulty breathing or having an anaphylactic shock during that time, they would have been taken off and sent off to hospital. So they had a team there for that. Now there are some persons who might have developed other symptoms a couple of days after being exposed.
Naturally, yeah.
But one thing that was not brought out during that time though, because remember that time there are some persons who might have COVID and have no symptoms at all.
True.
And subsequent to the same now though, if they have had COVID now and they've gotten the vaccine at that time, without being tested to know if they had COVID during that same time, could have made symptoms worse. And then from there on now, so that was why at even one time they were even saying that some companies should be asking for persons to be tested first before getting the
Oh, that's why the PCRT and the rapid test was for.
Right,
to
was
confirm
for.
if you have a need to take the vaccine.
because some persons who didn't get sick, or even had flu-like symptoms, and didn't think that they had COVID, when tested, would it be especially if they did antibody testings. Because can you imagine if you were sick and you didn't know that you had COVID, but when you did antibody testing, should that you have developed antibodies for same. That means you had COVID at some point in time, right? So these are also other factors to even look at. But adverse effects do happen to some persons because it's just like whenever you buy a tablet, for example, it says this might cause nausea, vomiting, whatever. Whatever is listed on a drug doesn't mean that any of these side effects will actually happen to you. But they are listed because they have found this in the group of persons who they have actually studied before.
So during that period, what were some of the type of persons you tested? You did a lot.
So I tested celebrities, politicians, famous athletes, you name it. I've tested many persons. I was even with production companies. I've even tested so within production companies. So I've brought in like top models from France, Paris. So before they would test, before they would use these persons on the set, I'd have to go and test the entire team before they would have done a shot or as we say, a shoot.
So that period basically unleash a different momentum in your profession.
Definitely. So a lot of networking. Yes. You see, within a pandemic, and within any form of crisis, many persons benefit, right? Whether it be financially, making a wider network, whatever it is,
A lot of business started.
Because even Warren Buffett said that during times of crisis, that's when he flourished.
Yeah, they say chaos is a ladder.
Yes, it is.
People use chaos to do
it. It is. Believe it or not. Yes.
All right. So, but I think people were saying that too much focus was on, the vaccine, COVID, when there's other illnesses that, is the number one leading cause of death, especially in Jamaica, where they call it hypertension, diabetes, cardiac arrest.
Yes.
The focus on those type of illnesses wasn't, promoted as much. Even with the lockdown, do you think that the country responds too soon in terms of the lockdown?
No, as a matter of fact, we responded at a critical time because I was a part of a meeting initially when the COVID virus didn't reach us as yet, and they were having ball by ball commentary, ball by ball checking to see where the numbers were, and the lockdown, of course, was initially supposed to be an international thing, right? We locked down long before the US, if you recall, yes?
Was that necessary though?
It wasn't necessary because, one, remember that time we had our first COVID case within that same time period. Then from there on, this person was exposed. She went to a funeral, as it was said, and then other persons got ill. Because remember, with a virus, for example, you and I are here now. I'm exposed to you, I get something from you. I end up going to a classroom or I end up going somewhere else that has many other persons. And this is how this actually causes a ripple effect. And
so
actually
you were saying off camera that Jamaica we were practicing proper hygiene.
Yeah, we were because
increased the number.
Yeah, because we were even acknowledged internationally that Jamaica was one of the countries who were keeping down the numbers due to our lockdown, but at the same time, those persons were also affected. Yes, but once we realized that things were fine, and of course, another issue was that the economy was being affected, tourism was being affected, and of course, without any financial support, people are going to start panicking. And with this being happening now, there was some amount of opening back of the port because we want to get some money as a country. And then from there on now, people are coming in, so what's going to happen again? They'll be seeping in again So despite persons being tested and being negative during that time, some person might be tested negative right now, but by the time they end up reaching home, they get sick. Why is that so? Because they might have been tested too early as well, and at the same time the virus was multiplying in their body. So and that's one of the reasons as well why quarantining was very, very important. Because when you're quarantined after being exposed or being in an area where there is exposure to a virus, you're being placed in an area to sit there or to stay there within a certain time period to see if things will change. Changing temperature, having a difficulty breathing, having other symptoms such as fever, having respiratory illnesses, whatever it is.
So was there sufficient fund to help help the healthcare professionals, the workers, to properly carry out their job? Were they adequately compensated during that period?
Regarding compensation, there were, as I understand the time, there were funds being sent to the country to cover same. Because during that time, remember the time there were different sites at different hotels. For example, there was a team at Eden Gardens. There were some teams at Grand Bahia. Right. So there were persons being quarantined there. So funds should be siphoned off to these medical personnel who are seeing these persons as well. Regarding the disbursing of all these funds, that is for the government to discuss who provided these services if they were adequately paid or not. That's a financial discussion that I think should be taken.
One of the key points, though, what I noticed during that whole period is that there was a lot of censorship happening, both on social media and locally. We normally know that when you're talking about law, you consult a lawyer. When you're talking about, physiotherapist type of thing, you consult a physiotherapist. When it comes to this now, the health crisis, many doctors were basically silent. We were getting information from persons that were quote unquote, expert in the field. Was that an issue among, your colleague being censored?
So regarding same, of course, whenever you work with a ministry, there are certain guidelines, and one of the reasons as well why there was no direct lockdown during the start of same, because one of the main aims is never to is to always prevent mass hysteria. Because somebody can hear something and then all of a sudden everybody gets a panic, So you have to look at all those aspects as well.
So it has to be controlled then?
Yes, because you can't be spreading wrong information. Because one thing, if you realize, persons spread negative information much more rapidly than positive information.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was even discussing with you earlier on that if you hear that you must drink a lot of water and you have water every day, a person doing an ad for water during that time is a very good idea. But if you hear that a particular water storage contains a dead crocodile, within that entire week, you're hearing everybody having some discussion about that on the news or in the media in general, that don't drink any water because it actually could be from the source, when it actually one source alone where this had actually happened. So most times our minds in general are focusing on that. I recall I was watching, I listened to many motivational videos from time to time, and this guy was saying that if I tell you not to think about elephants, you start thinking about elephants right away, because your mind is focusing on not thinking about this. For example, he was saying that if you're going down to do some skiing along a path, and you're skiing through trees because you're skiing through ice, if you tell yourself do not hit into the trees, you will hit into the trees. But if you tell yourself to follow the path, you follow the path. And your mind is actually a very, very powerful
reinforcement
thing. Is very, very powerful thing. Yes.
How has that been during your journey? Through med school. How you started basically? You tell us that you wanted to be a doctor. That was the first choice that you get it.
So for me, I have another degree first in pharmacology before doing medicine. Worked for a year with National Health Fund. When I got into medical school, when I got on the package directly, yes, that time medical full fee that time was about $2.something million per year, not for the entire thing, per year that time, yes. So I sat down. During that same time, I also got another offer from a company that time is from Pfizer as well to be a drug rep during that same time. During that time, they have been paying a good amount of money per month, and I sat down and was saying to myself, should I go to medical school where I can't even find the first dollar, as opposed to getting some money right now? I can make some money. I spoke to a lady whose son at that time, her son was a doctor for about 10 years that time, and she said to me that it's better to have a career than to have a job, because if I'm going to this job every day and I wake up tomorrow morning and they said to me, we don't need your services again, you're fired. But when you have a career, if you're a doctor today or you're a pharmacist today, you're this person for the rest of your life. So it's about you deciding whether or not you want early gratification or you want a long-term process where you can, because right now I can still be in pharmacology, I can still do other things, and as you know, I'm doing several things now, because I'm a visiting doctor now. I'm a doctor at Aratel. I am many places.
So it work out basically.
Yes, so sometimes it's a matter of having forward planning, not just about getting everything right away. Because as Americans, it's about a quick fix, a quick money, and then that's it.
How important is to have those type of person in your background too? It'll give you information on how to navigate moving forward. Many persons don't have that.
It's very, very important, because I went to KC when I passed for Kingston College after the last year of common entrance, right? The following year would have been GSAT. When I passed my common entrance, I got a scholarship from Chicago. That was how I ended up paying my entire tuition throughout my entire time at KC. That scholarship even brought me all the way up to university first year when I was in pharmacology.
Okay.
So, and I had a mentor during that time. Mentors are very, very important, you know. Even if you see that you're just giving minimal information, but sometimes some persons see this as golden to them. So if you can give some information, whether it be about how you had your journey, how you ended up doing this as a gym person or whoever it is, somebody else can learn from it, you know. So it's all about connecting to the right persons, because if you're having friends who don't want to elevate themselves, but when you are now in a different, when you're now moving towards something else now, they are telling you something negative, then these persons should not be your friends.
Yeah, show me your friends.
Yeah, believe it or not, you know, you understand? So you have to be pressing forward each and every day to be a better person. If you stay where you are, I guarantee you, that is it.
Yeah, you're going to get punished for the future.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, your role at Beauty Journal Spa, that's the name?
Yeah, Beauty Journal Spa here.
What are some of the services you provide there?
At Beauty Journal Spa here, so I do lipo shots there for them. So that's fat dissolving injections for the abdomen, sides. We do double chin correction as well. I also do IV shots as well for them in terms of, because I'm the medical director there. In terms of glutathione shots as well, B12 shots and mixture of vitamin C.
That's called
beauty shots
weight,
as
right?
well. Yeah, it is, because B12 shots are mixed with you're referring to what? The lipo shots? Are referring to
lipo shot.
So lipo shots actually helps to dissolve fat at the side, and also helps in tightening the skin. Takes a few treatments for same. I was even recently certified to do PDO threads as well. You know, so there are a bit of things.
Continual learning.
Yes. So there's no need to be stagnant. You know.
So what's your advice to some of the medical students right now?
My advice to medical students right now is that the medical industry, there are many doctors being produced every day, right? It isn't about just going to the 9 to 5, because if you stick to the 9 to 5 and not having any other stream of income, because sometimes the stream of income that you're having separate and apart can be used to pay some other bill, you know? So it's about you learning whatever that you need to learn in a medical school, but at the same time, you should, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should actually still be an entrepreneur, because there are some persons who are doctors, who after finishing medical school, after the first day, they've never done medicine again. Yeah, the guy who owned New Line Motors, I was informed, he was a doctor, and he has never done medicine from leaving medical school. Sometimes again, it's about talking to their parents as well. The parent want this child to be a doctor, a nurse, or whatever. But I had a friend, my brethren, a good brethren. He normally does surfing in general, but his mom wanted him to get a degree first before anything else from there on. He did his degree, and he's now doing surfing still, and he has trained many persons. So sometimes, you know, it is about what you as a parent want for the child. Wanted something honest, you know. Then let the child, of course, do something that they love, because the moment you do something that you love, it never seems as work any day at all from there on.
Definitely.
You know.
How can they find you?
So I am at Bethel Health Clinic. I'm in the evenings. I'm the evening doctor there from 4 to 6. I'm at Surgeon Golden.
Bethel is on Half Tree, right?
Yeah, close to the Half Tree clock, right? Across from Clocktower Plaza and Booking Supermarket. I'm also at Surgeon Golden Rehab, where I'm a medical officer there. I am also at Beauty Journal Spa here, you know. I also do house visits, you know. Yes. So I am at yeah.
All right,
you know.
guys. So it was interesting to speak to Dr. Joseph Wilson, who come from way back, and I'm very proud of him. And these are some of the people who have on the platform just to share to you some of the footsteps you can, you know, follow to reach where you want to reach in your career.
Yeah.
Respect. Thanks.
All right, good man.